I didn't have gray hair before starting. I have gray hair now.
How do you combine this and, the good, the bad, and the ugly?
If it wasn't for embracing the hard times, the suffering, the just making it, then we wouldn't have been here. Industries or companies are so detached from the artist's struggle, or they just laugh about it. It's like, starving artists. Like, you guys do it for passion and you guys are okay. The answer is like, no, we don't have to do that.
So do something for free so you can get exposure. That's the big word.
Now this is our time and we get to dictate what artists get to be in today's world, and we get to pass that legacy on to our next generation.
Welcome to another wasted hour of you and I. Unfiltered and inspired, where I spend a good amount of time with a beautiful creative mind. We hope you'll have an awesome time with us. And the way to support us is obviously to follow, subscribe, leave some information. If you're interested in being part of this podcast, please go ahead and leave us a message and we'll get right back to you. But for now, let's really enjoy this time with our new artist in this new episode. All right, everybody, this is a special one. Welcome, Juan Navarro.
Thank you.
Hey, owner of the Eastside Art House. That's the art house where I started as an artist, so it's like very special. How are you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good.
Yeah,
All right.
It's a nice day.
We're gonna introduce, I know the light is fantastic. We're gonna introduce you to one of his most beautiful murals, and we'll talk more about a lot of stuff afterwards. All right, so Juan, talk to us about the Casablanca mural.
Okay, so this is a special mural for me. I think it's one of my most popular pieces of work in the public space. It's right next to the train tracks off the 91 off Madison. It's special because it has a lot of history of the community here. A lot of my work takes place in Eastside, Riverside, and Casablanca had been inviting me for almost 3 to 4 years to come paint a mural in this neighborhood. And an opportunity arose where the mayor was doing a program where she was sponsoring with local businesses murals across the town. So I was invited to serve the Casablanca community, and Altura was actually the major sponsor for that project.
Shout out.
So during this project, so we're visualizing what we'd want on the wall. So I had a tour of the community by a local member, Richard. He just took me on a tour around the whole community. I got to hear his stories about him growing up and what was important. So this mural is just really a big collage of what's important to the Casablanca community.
You want to break that down a little bit and show us what are the different pieces?
Yeah, so right here in the center, we have the Casablanca citrus label. So this is a label drawn in 1920s. It's also been referenced by other muralists in the community. And I really wanted to put it in the entry point as well and give it a fresh look. So I was inspired by that. It's a very beautiful label, and that really covers the beginning of the neighborhood, right? It was based on citrus culture. But then also, while I was painting it, which was in 2023, the school just turned 100 years. So it's pretty cool. This used to be the Casablanca Elementary School. A lot of people's grandparents and uncles went to this school, and the families are still alive today, living in the neighborhood. Today it was currently purchased by the Catholic Church. So what you see on the left here is the Catholic Church in its original state. Right now it's been updated through remodeling, but they wanted a vintage photo of it as well. So I was able to work with CAG, which is a neighborhood group that preserves the history of the neighborhood. And those are neighborhood leaders that were able to inform. And for me, the technique that inspired me the most was the tile work in the back. That was found in a building from the neighborhood Home and Neighborly Services. Hopefully I said that correct, but it's basically where they give food banks and programming to after-school programs. And I photographed the tile that was on her wall and put it into this mural as an art element.
You'll see that in a lot of Juan's work. He's using a lot of that Spanish old tile work. It's gorgeous.
So before we go, I want to point out one more item of the mural. It's this statue here is Ismael Vegas, who's a Medal of Honor recipient, and he's Latino. And to be honest, this statue was in downtown Riverside ever since I was a little boy, and I always thought it was not a Latino man. I didn't know, but now understanding his story and the impact that he had as a war hero during the Vietnam War, really brings light to the Latino community and showing how we can persevere and also become heroes ourselves.
A lot of history, a lot of representation and pride of Riverside in this work. So I'm really excited to show you that today. We also have some, Inca or Mayan elements? What are they?
Yeah, so on Lincoln Avenue here from Casablanca, there is actually an indigenous inspired mural there. And it was done by a former muralist as well. So I kind of wanted to nod to the people that, the artists from this area, right? That were here generations before me, and just wanted to just reference that small item to thank them for allowing me to also paint in their neighborhood. And yeah, so it's just to pay respect to both indigenous culture, but also the previous muralists in this community.
All right, this is mural number 1. We'll have more to show you. So let's go on to the East Side Art House to see what's going on over there and kind of learn about the history and what Juan has been doing in the community to elevate the community and elevate the artists. So I want to talk about this for a little minute. This is a really unique house in this whole Park Avenue, East Side, Riverside neighborhood. And it's a very special project. I want Juan to talk to you guys a little bit about this because this is very special.
Yeah, so a lot of people were confused when it's first built. They're like, is that a store? Is that a daycare? It's been asked a lot of questions, especially when it was first built. So this was built in 2019, and this is known as The Branch, which is a Riverside Art Museum and RHDC program where they collaborated with affordable housing to provide an artist in residence for the community.
One artist in the community. Remember that.
Yeah, so my work was to collaborate with the Riverside Art Museum to develop art programming for the community, and is really focused on art accessibility. So it's really cool to have the opportunity to not only work in the neighborhood, but also live in the neighborhood. I have some history in the East Side as well, even from growing up. I spent a lot of time at Riverside Spanish SDA, which is on Ottawa, where my mom went to church, so it's a Spanish-speaking Adventist church. I've also done some community work here at Boardwalk Park with Mount Rubidoux and the African-American community. It's called Souls to Souls, where we would wash homeless feet and provide clean shoes. So there's a lot of philanthropy and also serving the community at food banks and stuff. But this time I was able to, also now serve the community, but in a different way. So today I'm a featured local artist with the artist in residency position at RAM.
Tied to this.
And it's tied to this living space as well.
What the concept is let's put an artist in the community and provide them with housing and see what happened. And what really happened is a huge development in several areas, and I benefited from this, right? So the artist in the community is transforming the community. We're gonna see a bunch of murals that this group has created, but it was also transformative for each and every one of us who, stepped into the art house as artists, because we're given opportunities to do a mural here, mural there, to participate in art events with the city, to be connected. So the work of Juan really is a catalyst for a lot of artists to become and step up their game in terms of the arts and evolve. Some of us became professors, some of us built businesses. It's just been really through and through a very positive experience to put an artist in a community that was in need.
Yes, so when I was presented the opportunity, I was still living in my parents' house. I was sharing a bedroom with my 2 brothers, and times were still tough. I was working, washing cars, but I always wanted to be an artist. So I was also live streaming and was creating an online brand. And yes, I did get a chance to travel to different places to paint murals, but no one in Riverside actually knew that I existed until my community work began. And it just kept growing. So for the first 4 or 5 years, I focused on serving the community through the artwork. And then the next part of my journey was, how do I build up the artist community as well. So that became a goal for me. To the East Side Art House. We have a little friend here. I guess he's following us as well. And this is Lincoln Park. So Lincoln Park is also very historical to the community. We have community groups that do meetings here, where they'll do a Christmas event. They'll feed the homeless and the community during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So they do an Easter egg hunt for the children. So we love community groups because they bring resources and programming that are far beyond. And as the Riverside Art Museum's artists in residence, we're able to collaborate with these groups that care about people that live here and be able to cultivate really cool programming.
Let's talk about one group here that we have actually worked with for a mural, but that is also doing a lot of like community work. That's the Orange Valley Lodge, number 13. But first, can we show the bakery? So the art house has also worked on this mural for the bakery. We've done a few across the neighborhood.
Yeah, so this is super vibrant, and another really special piece of mine. This is the Park Avenue Arts District mural, and this is really one of the final murals painted within a season of murals, really to acknowledge the cumulative work here done in the east side.
Yeah.
And it was really to support this business, Chela's Bakery. So during COVID, they actually purchased this building, but it took them 2 to 3 years to actually move in. After COVID, there was inflation, and they didn't even have the resources to complete the build because even some of their staff passed away. That was intended to remodel this building. Basically, we served through providing the piece of art to make sure that the community knew something was coming. And now it's a vibrant, great smelling bakery, the sweetest bread. It's actually the best Mexican bread in our community.
It really is.
Yeah, and people drive from all over the place to come here and grab bread.
But you see, he said something really important. He was like, when we create these murals on these businesses, we support them. So it's not like we can't give them grants and things like that, but when we beautify the neighborhood, we're changing the atmosphere. People want to come, people want to take pictures, and that supports local businesses. I think this is huge. So let's talk about this, because this is beautiful too. We have 2 murals on this building.
Yeah, so this one is a work in progress. It's 90% done. I think 10%'s left, but this one's really special because it has both Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez, which are both nonviolent civil rights leaders. And that's something that this neighborhood did struggle with during the 80s and 90s. There was a lot of drug trade, a lot of basically people passing away due to crimes. And there's just a lot of negative stigma around the East Side community. But I want to usher in a brighter future for the people that live here. So basically acknowledging these 2 civil rights leaders as nonviolent, but also being able to advocate for their needs, that's really important to me. The same way we meet the needs of business owners through providing beautification projects, we can all advocate for ourselves, even if our neighborhood has been marginalized throughout the years.
And that's positive imagery and positive messaging in the neighborhood. That's what I want to do. Hey, buddy. Okay. All right, so this is one that is really dear to my heart. It's a beautiful work that we have done with Juan and with Willis, the gorilla. If you're looking for him on Instagram, Willis the gorilla. So as we said, there's a lot of history in this neighborhood, and we wanted to represent what the work of the Orange Valley Lodge has done to the community, such as serving the community, feeding the community. You're going to see different themes around on this mural. Juan, you want to talk about this a little bit more?
Yeah, so this one was really focused on the daily life of Lincoln Park and the Orange Valley Lodge. So we have classic cars to represent the Chicano culture, and we also have the boxing, which was a big important part here at Lincoln High School, which was a program that was to keep young people busy and competitive in a sport. And that ran for a long time. So before there was art in this neighborhood, there was boxing. And really, that's the alternative choice for the youth. Today, I think we've progressed a lot more, where I've met youth that are part of this community that are now working as firefighters. They're working for the schools as janitors, and some of them even took off and became very successful in other industries as well. So it just brings me a lot of joy that there's a possibility to, wherever you start from, whether it's like me, where we're all crammed in one bedroom, 6 people, for I spent our family brink of homelessness at one point of our lives, to now becoming a married man that has a successful career, that's been to the White House and has tons of accomplishments. I think that's possible. And to me, I know that, yes, it's for me when I grow, but also it's to tell a story of what's possible out there. And I think everyone in the art house is an example of that. And when I see people in the art house and see how they're growing as well, it just brings me a lot of joy, because I could also predict where they're going based on the choices they're making today.
Yeah, one last thing about this mural, then we'll take it inside. But we have this Stokes and Wiley. That was the first Black-owned store in Riverside. So that is like very prominent on this mural. We also have local leaders of the lodge that are sitting right there. This was really, really awesome too.
Yeah, and I also want to tell you a story. There's a young lady on top of the mural that's coming out of the water. So she was an example of like a civil rights action. So she jumped into a pool when it wasn't the day for people of color to jump in the pool.
Wow.
So it disrupted the whole community. And then the owner of the Mission Inn ended up saying, we're gonna put a pool for the people of color so they can swim every single day here at Lincoln Park. So this is the first park that received an all-colored pool, which it didn't solve the problem completely, but it was a step forward to bringing equity to our community, and where business leaders were able to do that as well. So when I say business leaders sponsoring murals to change communities, to inspire and be catalysts and improve people's lives, it's really real, and I'm really glad to being an artist and being part of that story, whether it's in a micro way, meaning just inspiring someone that reads about my story, or in a big way where we're building a space like the Eastside Art House that is catapulting 18 plus artists into their best versions of themselves.
Ooh! You know, I want you to talk about a little bit of what has been.
You see this mural right here?
Oh, there's another.
Yeah. So we do have another mural here. Again, this is part of the Riverside Artists in Residencies, sponsored by US Bank. So even they brought bank staff from all over the region to help paint this mural to be part of that story. And it features a Cholo Squinkle, which is a national dog in Mexico. And basically I was just showing the past and the present, right? Indigenous symbolism of the dog, and then a current version, which is a more, almost like a graphic based realism of the dog as well. And it just talks about the different generations of how people immigrated here, the Latino people immigrated here. Because even when we talk about like local gang culture, a lot of them are separated by families, but these families immigrated into the US at different time periods. Some came as farmers, some came because they're running away from a certain a certain group from the country. So there's different reasons why people immigrate here, but they all build their own families and communities, but we're all living in the same area. So for me, it's just to acknowledge that our stories may be different throughout time, but we're all still one people.
Warm. Okay, do we see more murals, or are we going inside?
I think we're gonna go inside now because I want to cover the Eastside Art House.
All right, so we're inside the art house after this little cool tour around the neighborhood that I'm really excited about. And what I want you to kind of talk about right now is the building of this art house. So if you understand this, Juan is a muralist and an artist. You see some of the pieces behind. So there's this art practice, but there's also the being a business owner. So I really want to bring that up today, because this channel is about learning how to be an artist, why to be an artist, what makes it cool, and what makes it hard to be an artist. And so I want to, kind of dig into your brain a little bit about the hard stuff and the good stuff about being a business owner, because this art house, holds a whole team. And so there's a lot of work and the background work for funding, for, materials, for organizing events, for keeping the house together, right? Sometimes we have issues with the wind, blowing walls at the back. Like this, there's a lot of issues that come with running a space. And so I want to talk about that with you, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So let's talk about the art house, and let's talk about your practice as a muralist and as an artist. How do you combine this, and how's it going? Juan, how's it going?
So it's going good right now. It's
right
a good
now,
season.
okay.
Yes. So
there were bad seasons.
Yeah, so there's no such thing as a perfect business. I don't even think even the most wealthiest businesses in the world lose millions of dollars like overnight, depending on like their leader saying something.
So what's going on with this then? Where's the win?
Right now, actually, we just got over a difficult like financial time, like probably like 3 months ago. But what's crazy is that being a business owner, when you kind of like being the face and like being the artist and kind of like working on projects, you know, through what I do, and then on the other hand, like building the art house is to build up other artists as well in our community. That was an amazing dream, but once you're actually doing it, you realize how difficult and how complex it could be, and also you realize how human you are too. So I also struggle with extreme emotions sometimes in the idea of sometimes when there's scarcity, you can have an unhealthy mind, and having an unhealthy mind can now make your friends seem like they're taking from you, or the other way around. So let me just be more clear about it. And it comes down to like the history of the art house, right?
Yeah.
So when I launched it with a lot of love, with a lot of dreams, because I launched it to tackle this idea of artists cannot thrive in Riverside, artists cannot thrive in the IE. And I said, that's not true, because I'm thriving and I'm receiving opportunities. And if I could do it, there's plenty of artists that can do it, and it can happen. But they also have to be like mindful of the world that we live in.
So you wanted to provide an opportunity to show that, hey, if I'm giving you this art house, what are you going to do with it? And then show that people are actually thriving. And I can attest to that, right? Before getting into the art house, I didn't think myself as an artist. I didn't label myself as an artist. I knew I could do art, but I went into, you know, a whole other career that you guys know about. But then being around here now, I was like, you know what? I might do this full time. I might. And then this I might brought me into, you know, literally pushing a business, becoming a solo artist, and that's insane. And that's just one example out of many in this art house.
Yeah, so for me, like bringing in, like starting the business and bringing in some of the first few members, I was just like, hey guys, I remember when I was growing in my journey, and I'm still growing to this day. Always. But there's always been milestones where like, wow, I'm established here. Oh, wow, I'm established here. And you just become more and more established. But every time I go a little step forward in my career, I got to the point where I'm like, when I get to this level, I'm gonna make sure I provide a space to also get other people at this level as well.
And you did.
And yeah, so then I launched it. I invited people. I didn't know it was gonna work. I got a lot of criticism because I also opened during COVID. So I just started a community space during policies that says don't meet. So it was counterculture at that time. But we still wore masks. We had hand sanitizers. Obviously, if you were sick, don't come. So we had rules that took precautions. So it wasn't like I was super wild, like, hey, COVID doesn't exist. I wasn't making crazy statements. I'm a reasonable dude. Like, hey, come here, let's be safe, but let's continue to like discover what it means to be an artist in our region. And a lot of it was, how do we keep local talent local? Because a lot of times we do have a lot of artists that grow and then they just leave their neighborhood.
Because there's nothing here to really thrive off of.
But instead of looking at a neighborhood and saying, hey, there's nothing here for me, I'm leaving because life is better somewhere else. And then there's a statement that's always like, life is greener on the other side. It's like, no, life is greener. Basically, the grass is greener where you water it. So it's all about nurturing and less about leaving. And that's in everything, an aspect of life. It also comes down to marriage, which is something that I participated in. Starting this studio, I was 1 year into my marriage, or even 6 months into my marriage when I launched the studio.
That's an undertaking.
And my wife was pregnant, so I was jumping into fatherhood too, and I was jumping into owning a facility. And I didn't know what any of those things were. I've never done any of those three things.
Right.
I didn't have gray hair before starting. I have gray hair now.
That was what, 3 years ago? 2021?
Yeah, 2020 and 21. So it's been 4 now. Yeah, it's getting close to 4. So for me, it's like, 3 in a few months. So having all these changes, just diving in, but like starting a business to then, I'm like, I have 9 months before my baby's born. Because once my baby's born, I know that I'm going to be needed at home to support. So I give myself 9 months to make this space sustainable. I need enough members to at least pay the bills, at least the bills to run this business. And thankfully, I also have a lot of good friends in places that they're excellent in their own craft. So Megan Jones actually helped design the interior. So there's a lot of pieces of the art house where I can just call a friend, and they were able to call their friends and hear about this artist renaissance and vision.
You build a community, but then you also had your community that helped you build this.
Yeah, 100%. So I think one of my key mindsets in that aspect is, you can have friends and community, but when I find the best in people, I know that, and I can identify their skills too. And then I ask them, what is your goal? So like, you have friends, you identify what they thrive in, and you also ask them, what is your intention for your life and where are you going? And if our paths ever intersect, I always bring them into an opportunity that also involves me in it as well. So it's a win-win conversation. So Megan Jones is an interior designer. She did work for like big companies, and I said, hey, and she's also an artist. So she's actually a studio artist. So it's kind of aligned with what she was doing at that time. And yeah, she was able to help me and in building out the space.
Okay, so the space was built, the team was there, people started trickling in. What did you do to find us? How did people come in here? Because it's also about marketing and making sure that you find the people. Like, that's not easy to do because we are here in residence. Literally, we're paying members every month and all that stuff. Like, you have to build that community.
Yeah, so it's all about being around like-minded people. That's another powerful thing. Community is based on people with common interests. Businesses are based on a niche. And the word niche is scary because I still don't know what this niche is. Like, we're still like developing our story. But what I do know is that there's people there in this community that are 18 and older that are artists, and they're doing their best, but they're just making it, and they just need a little bit more of like either inspiration, insight, process to like get into the next level. I've discovered just a little bit of that, enough to thrive, but I know there's so much more. So I almost feel like the Eastside Art House is kind of like a research facility as well. Well, it has different artists pursuing their crafts and their trades, but also coming back to the art house, and we share amongst each other. This is what worked and this is what didn't. So the acceleration of our growth has been exponential in individual lives because of that shared experience. So, but initially, how did that start was me just sharing my experience of like, this is what I've done to the first 5 members. And I told them, this is my vision. This is my goal. My goal is that the Cheech is coming. My goal is that we're also featured in the Cheech. And this is the perfect time to start the studio.
And now it is.
And now it's actually happened.
Many of the artists here are actually featured at the Cheech as well.
Yeah, and some of them have been featured at the Cheech before I was featured at the Cheech. And that just shows like, that when you're in a mentorship position, sometimes the people that you're guiding will achieve successes that you haven't achieved before, and that's happened over and over and over here at the Art House. There's been artists that have been commissioned for artworks and gotten paid more than I've ever been paid in my life. But like, when you look at the human side of this, like maybe if I was in an unhealthy time, say I was barely making the bills and this happened, I'm not gonna lie, like it does hurt a little, and then there's a little temptation to think negatively about like, man, I know that this is gonna cause artists to thrive, but I didn't know it was gonna happen this fast. I didn't know they could like literally choose to move on tomorrow. They're so successful, they can leave and start their own space tomorrow.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that you do provide the space, and like we said, it's not just a physical space, it's also a motivation space, it's also like an inspirational space and all that stuff. But you get from surprise to surprises because you don't know people walking in here what they're going to do with what you're giving them. And some of them have like exploded and gone really fast and didn't even stay here. So that's fantastic because you're like, yay, I'm part of that journey. But at the same time, you have to run this place so like the people are leaving. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's very complex to be an artist and be in business at the same time because you're gonna have to deal with all that and make it keep the lights on.
Yeah, so I think that's the hard part about being an artist and a friend of all the artists in here. Because I am I truly care about every member here. I truly have the best intentions for their growth. But then on the other hand, it's hard to also run the facility and say, hey guys, we need resources here, or what skill set do you have to contribute back to this space? Because without the space, we wouldn't have been this far. So it's just like push and pull. It's like I serve both like my artist self, the artists in our community, but then also like I have to serve the building, even though the building is like a separate entity, which is like the actual brand itself. So I think that's a very complex part of my work is how do I also manage my emotions, and which I've done better because I actually, there was times where I'm like, oh man, I'm starting to feel resentful, and I'm like, I don't want these feelings. And then I realized, like, I said, you know what, like, I feel like I deserve even more success, but like I'm already blessed, right? I'm already blessed. I already have recognition and success. It's okay for others to have recognition and success, and even more than I have to, even if it was because of this institution that I built that they got there. And then I'm like starting to process this, and then the reflection within artists, because I was vulnerable to members as well, and they said, Juan, like, our success is still your success. Like us doing awesome helps contribute to the art house, and the art house stays with you too right now, you know? So it's kind of like, and then I'm like, you're right. It's just the fact that we're successful this fast only speaks to the fact that what you're saying is actually happening. Right, so instead of feeling
what you dream,
you know, instead of feeling weird about it, you know, and like, I'm like, you know what? I'm coming from a place of scarcity, and it came because it wasn't just my emotions or my lack of like awareness. It was more because the numbers were saying, Juan, if you don't meet these number requirements
that pressure
this year, your business is gonna break. So maybe the artists don't understand that I'm at the brink of like not being able to afford to pay the utilities here because every opportunity that came to my door, I gave it away. And then there was a shift. I'm like, you know what? Like, yes, I'm an altruistic guy. Yes, I put myself in the back burner for the first year and a half when it came to opportunities. And I'm like, I need to change that. And I need to feed myself too.
So talk about that shift then, because that's achieving some kind of balance, right? You have to fight and put everything together that you got into this business to make it thrive, but you have to eat.
Yeah, so then I think it just came down to my lack of boundaries, right? I'm a giver to my own fault, right? And I know there's a lot of people out there like that too. Like they'll give so much to their own expense. But it got so crazy where it's like, yo, if I don't perform on my artist side, if I don't perform for myself right now, I'm even at the brink of even losing like my, you know, like
your very dream.
Yeah, my dream, because I almost felt like I was being pushed to just being an owner and not being an artist anymore.
Wow, and that's real, because you get so busy because you have to do deals, you have to do marketing, you have to do this and that, and you almost lost yourself. So what's that shift? What did you start doing? Is that when the mural stuff started becoming more prominent?
Then for me, I'm like, you know what? Like, there's nothing that I've done that is public that deserves any like momentum. So then I'm like, because everything that I've been doing was kind of behind closed doors. Like I was coaching, mentoring, I was giving to individual lives. And then those individuals were growing, but also it wasn't like we weren't publishing that I was doing that.
So
it was a work in progress.
You started talking, more loud
the shift
about
was for me was, you know what, I need to also take care of myself and own these projects. Okay. So then when it came to being asked to paint the mural for Altura in Casablanca, that was my first version of saying, you know what, not only am I gonna own this mural, I'm also gonna invite other artists to paint mural with me. I'm gonna pay them to help me, but also can you honor the fact that I designed this mural, that I was invited for this mural, and can I have a little bit of respect for this project that I'm doing? And the moment that I give myself a little bit of self-respect, that's when things took off. Like 3 weeks into that, I got a call from the museum. They said, hey, Juan, we are about to be awarded a national medal. You're one of our candidates. We chose 3. And I was like, okay, you're gonna be interviewed by the White House and they're gonna choose who gets to come. I just gave my story and what I've been doing, and that story was like, got me into the White House as well. And so not only was it a residency program, but I also used those resources to start this, and then to further invest into the community and to serve the artists. And then that story is what changed. So sometimes on your journey, you think like, oh, I'm giving, and you think like, where's the return? And you don't see it, and then you're at the brink of failing, and that's when you blow up. That's when the call comes. That's when your life changes. And now, who can say in our community that they've been inside the White House itself through 5 checkpoints of, Secret Service? I don't think anyone can. So like, I feel like, I want to say God heard my prayers, but I do want to say like, I think whatever you believe in, it's like, I think the universe saw me and they saw my suffering, internal suffering, because I also didn't want to put it on other people, but they're like, yo, this is your break. And if it wasn't for embracing the hard times, the suffering, the just making it, then we wouldn't have been here. And I think it always happens in cycles. Like it goes, you go well, and then once it starts dipping again, then like, all right, welcome to the suffering zone. And you're going to be in a place where you're clenching your jaw. I have no idea who my next client is going to be. I don't know who should I be giving free work to. I don't know who I should be building relationships with. I don't know who and you're just like lost, but you're just hoping that your intuition and your gut feeling and those that you love and those that you care for, those that you champion are the right people.
So let's just, he said, who should I give free work to? I really want to talk about this. So we're going to bring that up. But what you're saying is basically that at some point you give yourself more space to like be the artist. You give yourself also, you were courageous enough to say, hey, I'm gonna talk about this in the public eye because I need to be out there. This is something we don't do as artists as much. We're like, we want to be modest about that thing. We're not publicizing as much and all that stuff. But honestly, if the community does not see you, the community does not feed you. The community does not see you. The community can't call you and hire you and all of that. So
yeah. So here's my filter for that choice. It's like, who should you serve, right?
That's a hard one.
And that is hard because you're just one person. So you're also I need to understand that my humility is, Juan, you're not that special. You're one person. You cannot solve the world's problems.
You can't save everybody.
But you can be the light to specific groups and specific people. And yes, I wish there was 10 versions of me that were saying yes to everything, right? And sometimes we can't because economic reasons, because I'm a father, I'm a married husband. If I come home, my wife says, what did you do today? I'm like, I just volunteered here, I volunteered there, I volunteered this, I did this, I gave this away for free. And then she's like, yeah, but how are we gonna pay for our groceries? Right. And then I'm like, to the good deeds that were done.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you, what are the typical things that people are asking you to volunteer for? Or to give free work to?
Hey, we're a nonprofit. We want to raise funds for our initiatives, but can you donate to our gala? When they have enough funding to staff 80 to 100 people, and I only have one staff, which is me. Right? Sometimes when you compare the economics, it's like, yo, you're just one person, and you're just paying one little building. It's like, well, we have like we're basically sustaining lives of so to me, it's like this balance of like, sometimes I feel very small, and these big companies are like, hey, but we know a lot of people. And yes, there's times where you take that marketing and you accept those things, but you can't do it every time.
So do something for free so you can get exposure. That's the big word that we hear a lot, right? We know a lot of people, a lot of people are going to see your work. That's great. But what I want the public to understand is that exposure is not always translating into dollars for us. And it's fine. We will do it here, there. But if we get a lot of those requests, at the end of the day, the request doesn't pay the bill. And it's really like...
And it costs you your energy from distracting you from actually pursuing paid accounts. So if it's keeping you from a paid account, probably prioritize the paid account. And the reason why I'm saying pursue the resources is because we're literally, in context, we're just trying to make our annual living.
Yeah.
That's it. We're not like multi-billionaires, like prioritizing only profits. It's like, no, we're like one person, one artist trying to do something that takes a lot of time to do. All paintings take a long time to make.
That's true.
So it costs you a lot of hours, and sometimes you're going to be paid under minimum wage to even produce that painting. So we need to find a way to make these because if it was easy to make a painting, everyone would have been an artist. And this is a hard journey, something that consumes a lot of time. That's what makes it an art, because it takes a lot of time to master, a lot of time to make, and then a very hard time to find someone that was willing to purchase and support the artist. So sometimes exposure is just not enough. And sometimes these industries or companies are so detached from the artist's struggle, or they just laugh about it. It's like, oh, starving artists. Like, you guys are, you guys do it for passion, and you guys are okay living with struggles and facing these things. And the answer is like, no, we don't have to do that. And there's a lot of industries like in LA and New York where they said no too, and they're thriving, and they're a big component of civilization and society.
But yet we get a lot of criticism for your artists. Like, you're so expensive.
My simple answer to that is like, okay, if I'm a specialized work, but if you don't think what you're paying for is worth it, then it's okay. You can find someone else that can do it, or you try to do it yourself. And it'll probably take you 10 years to learn how to paint at my level. Like at the end of the day, it's like, are you gonna pay with money?
It's not bragging,
or are you gonna pay with your time in your life to actually become to have your vision come out? So it's like people think like, oh, it's just a natural gift. And it's like, no, as if like, it's like, it's as easy for you guys to paint as it is for us to breathe. No, it's not. It's like, it's something that you put a lot of effort into becoming, and you struggle and you stay up. Some of my projects, I don't sleep at night just to make sure I find the right choice on the creative process.
We grow on that practice like everybody else, but guess what? Any athlete that that you revere, they might have natural talent, but you see them also working out 25 hours a day to just keep that, keep that momentum, keep that direction, keep getting stronger, keep getting better. It's the same thing with the artist. It's like, we don't just come and paint. We're here at our house practicing, every day, every week, trying to get better at what we do. I can say I'm much, much better now than when I walked in, and it's because I had to put in the hours and all that stuff. So when we set pricing for what we do for murals and all that stuff, it may look exorbitant for some folk, but there's so much involved into that, like the time you spent to research, the time you spent to study that craft and see if it works or not, all the equipment and the hours that you're spending outside in the heat, in the cold, in the rain, and all that stuff. It is costly to us physically, mentally, with our own families, and you know that, because it's like, do I finish this painting so I can feed my family, or do I spend time with my son? Which is here, by the way.
So for me is when my lights got installed, the electrician says, hey, I'm charging you $4,000 to install all the lights to customize your space. And I said, okay. And they got it done in 3 days. Am I gonna be upset because they were so good that they got it done in 3 days without, like, for me, I'm paying for intelligence. I'm paying for intelligence of the electrician that knows how to run wiring, and I'm also paying for efficiency. They got it done in 3 days because they're good at what they do. And it was even subleased anyway, so like the person that I paid wasn't even the guy who did the work, it was someone else. So if we don't complain about other industries, why are we complaining against the artists? Because it's easy to bully people that are poorer than you. That's the problem. That's what I feel sometimes.
He's getting excited.
So for me, I get a little upset that it's easy to oppress people that have less power than you. And it's really a power struggle. And sometimes for me, it's like, it's the end of artists being fools. It's the beginning of artists being a respected individual in the community, respected for their craft and respected for the hours. And this is the city of Riverside, the arts and innovation. Like, the word arts is in there, and we are part of that. Wow. And I definitely think if people really respected the work that you've done and the hours that you've put in, the brand that you cultivated, and they want a piece of you in their life, then there has to be a price to that. And that's how artists will make a living full time. Both when the buyer understands your value and when the artist understands their own value.
No more starving artists.
Yeah, and the moment I started putting boundaries and doing projects that I really care about, and then at the end of the day, I get to choose who I do work for, not because of, oh, if I don't do this, I'm not gonna eat. No, I choose to work with you because you care about people. And the people that care about artists care about people. And the artists care about people because they tell the stories of the people. So it's this reciprocal relationship. So for me, all of the people that I work with, which is IHP, Altura, they're all people-driven companies. Riverside Art Museum, people-driven companies. They're for the humanities. And for us, like being an artist is to give a voice to the community, but also we need to find a way to inspire and encourage artists to also protect themselves and have boundaries against people that want to use them. and the answer is like, not use them. How about we use the word collaborate with them?
But hold on, it's not, we're not trying to bash or be negative. What we're saying is, I don't think people realize sometimes what it takes. So when you're saying, hey, I would love for you to do a mural here, but I will give you $100. You're just not seeing and understanding the depths of work that goes behind that. So this show is about educating the community about what it is to be an artist and what it costs, so that we can all get along and understand each other about what it really takes. And like you said, learn to put our boundaries and then learn to, for the community to learn to respect us as actual professionals. My family told me in the beginning, being an artist is not a job. Yes, it is.
And yes, I guess I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. When I said the word, people want to use artists for their outcomes, it's true, but that's a negative way to say it. I think the more positive way to say it is people want to collaborate with artists to have their outcomes. It's the same action, it's just about perspective. Yeah. And unfortunately, when we're going to negotiations, if people are being disrespectful, then I could choose not to collaborate, right? But if people are being respectful, even if we disagree, and even if I'm not the person that you commission, it's fine. Like, not a big deal. For me, it's like, all right, as artists, we need to see that people want to collaborate with you, and it is our responsibility to show like who we are and how we've made and become, and how we make what we make. And if they see our value, then cool, we can have a win-win scenario.
Just remember that, like, I love that value word. Remember that we're carrying identity, right? Art, we're carrying the history, we're carrying the voices through what we say in the images, which is a lot of power, sometimes more than words. So remember that, and this is a service that an artist does to the community as a carrier of. We're taking you for, like, the fire with LA took out a lot of art, so a lot of identities, a lot of pictures, a lot of stuff has been lost about the history of the people. So artists are an essential piece of this community. I want you to talk about, we're coming on to the end, but I want you to talk about where you see yourself in a few years, like what's the next. You've done it, right? You've done the art house, you've done the mentorship, you've pushed your murals, now you're full thriving with the mural stuff. You do spend some time on, I don't know if you want to spend more time on your personal, like smaller art stuff, but where do you see yourself? What's the next objective for Juan?
For me is, I feel like I'm living already in where I want it to be. Like, I'm already in a flow state. So everything is natural, nothing is forced. I wake up every day, there's 10 things to do. And as much as I can do, if I can finish all 10 of them, cool. If I can't, then I'll pick up tomorrow and there'll be 10 more things to do, right? So for me, I have a lot of responsibilities in different ways.
Yep.
Whether it's personal artwork, murals out, or bidding with private institutions, also fulfilling nonprofit tasks and institutions there as well. So, and then also making sure that the people of the art house are fed, like they have enough opportunity, and if they're going through a hard time, then hop onto one of my murals, and hopefully that can, help pay for a few lunches for you, like whatever it is, whatever I can do to also make sure we're taking care of, I would say, my people. But I do kind of limit myself to really serving very intentionally the art house members, because that membership helps justify the time that I pour into them. Even though that membership is going just to maintain this building. Profitability only comes when I work. So I do have to continue to have a personal practice and continue to be an artist. For me, where I'm headed in, like, I think that will come naturally based on how the world is changing around us.
With
So
opportunities coming.
yeah, so there's a lot of good things that are happening, and there's a lot of choices and roads to, you know, like I'm being requested to attend different committees and different, being a keynote speaker.
You're just flexible with it, whatever,
So right now I
whatever.
just take it day by day, because there's so many different decisions that can result in, I guess, what you would say more success, but I'm already living in success. So for me to project any future plans is, I don't think there's more success than what today brings, but there will always be success on its way. And for me, like, I don't know. I think if I keep doing what I'm doing, I guess the biggest rewarding part for me is when I am successful, I get to be generous. And when I am successful, I get to give.
give back thing.
So to
is
me,
what
that
you
warms
like.
my heart. And then if I can see someone's life improve because of either the art piece that I made or the mentorship that I provided, and they come back and said, "Hey, my life is better because of you." To me, that's living. That's success. Like, it's not this is the best painting ever. It's more of like, this painting moved our family, and now we get to, you know. So
Yeah.
So to me, it's like I live in a constant state of being a catalyst for change, but change for the better. And if I can be part of that story, in a macro or micro level, then that's like my purpose, you know.
Is that what makes you happy in your practice?
Yeah, 100%. That makes it rewarding. It's never has to do with economics. It doesn't have to do with the coolest artist, the coolest design. It doesn't have to do with, you know, for me, as long as I have peace at home and I have peace within my colleagues and within the people that I work for. And I guess for me, I want to leave like a final message, because you're saying, Juan, you mentor things, but I do want to give one more cookie. I want to leave one more cookie, right? So the cookie is, everyone can start practicing how to become a better artist by focusing on the relationships they have today. So if you can focus on your personal relationships, whether it's your wife, whether it's your son, whether it's your brother, whether it's your mom, your dad, any relationship that you're already struggling with. Everyone has a relationship that is difficult for them, but they have to keep. Think of ways that you can cultivate a healthy relationship with that person. You'll 100% will become a better business person. Because business is all about tackling indifferences and challenges of human relationships and providing a space where both of you can thrive. And if you can solve relational issues, you'll be able to solve business issues. And I think becoming a better person, becoming a better self-aware person of who you are, will now in return, you'll become a better businessman or a woman. Like, you'll be more fair, or artist, or community leader, or any other thing. Because it all comes down to, how do I manage my emotions? How do you perceive me? That should be a question you should ask. And what can I do to become a better version of myself to better fit in this world with you? Because at the end of the day, we're just humans existing in this giant blue ball, floating in space 1,000 miles per hour. And in 200 years, maybe no one will hear about what we've done. but what's cool is that in the movie The Gladiator, it says, like, every action you make now echoes throughout time. So your choices that you make today, you're leaving a blueprint for future generations. And today, we are the artists of today's world. We've had artists that lived during the Renaissance period. We have artists like Pablo Picasso, Van Gogh, that have set like examples, but now this is our time, and we get to dictate what artists get to be in today's world, and we get to pass that legacy on to our next generation. So that's my tip in terms of how to become a better artist and a better business person.
That's a sweet tip. It's a good way to end this. Hey, Juan, thank you so much for spending time with us today, showing us a little bit of your inside world, your work, your worries, your successes. And that's what it is, right? It's all of it. We're on the positive, the negative, and we live in all of it, but we're making beautiful pictures, and our goal is to really make people happy.
Yeah.
So I love that you brought that up about the relationship. Fix your relationship, work on it, and make you a better person in all of the aspects of your practice.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank you.
friend. All right, so stay tuned for the full interview. Obviously, we'll share some stuff on Instagram. You'll also see more of Juan through, you know, pictures and videos that we'll share, the White House, all that stuff. That'll be awesome. But just, would you like to just at least say where they can find you, find your art, find your work?
Yes. Sorry, this conversation got super deep. I'm like, dang,
We'll have more.
once we get into that, I'm thinking of a lot more.
All right, just
I'm
tell
like,
them where to
so,
find you, and then they can maybe connect with you.
Yes.
More.
So feel free to just hit me up on Instagram. You can follow my Instagram page. It's kind of like, that's like a journal of my journey. So everything that was mentioned, you guys can see it there. So at Love Monsters, LUVMONSTRZ, and it's Juan Navarro. And I have a website called juannavarro.art. You can see previous work. And also the esidearthouse.studio. That's the brand that we're all part of and that we're doing, that I get to lead. And I'm around amazing people. So check out all the artists that come out of the art house, because 100% they're doing legendary things.
Beautiful. Thank you. See you on the next episode of You and I, Unfiltered and Inspired.
So how was that? We hope you have an awesome time with us. And remember to follow, like, and subscribe, comment, leave messages. We really, really enjoy, you know, communicating with the community. So be with us, stay with us, and stay tuned for the next episode.